Raiders. Stand up. Get on your feet. Mad Chow, baby. You know. Who want to rumble with the Raiders? Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go. Navarre Raiders. Get up. Let's go. You don't want to rumble with the Raiders. You don't want to rumble with the Raiders. Yes. You want to rumble with the Raiders. Come on. Come on. You don't want to rumble with the Raiders. You don't want to rumble with the Raiders. Yes. You want to rumble with the Raiders. Come on. Hey, yo, it's lights out. Whenever they turn the lights on, enough with the talking, baby boy, the fight's on. You wanna rumble with the Raiders? Listen, it's nothing, baby, we running through you haters. And you can hate us, cause we keep chips on our shoulder. You know why we the best, but now we gotta show you. Listen, better watch how you approach us. Y'all bugs to us and we'll stump you cockroaches. Simple and plain, quit is what you should really do. Put your game face on, it's about to get physical. This here's a game of strength, patience, determination. And you can never win if you lacking the motivation. And now you heard it from the source. Losing is not an option, you can hear it in our voice. We only play this game to win, and we gon' put it on the line every time and every chance we get. Cause we may never get this chance again. So when you rumble with the Raiders, understand you on the field with men. Why play if you ain't playing to win? You just wasting the greatest time. Listen, shall I say it again? Yeah.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Irish Bill with Bob Grant with Irish Bill's Twist on Sports Week 2. And so far, it's been a good start for the Raiders, Bob.
Sure is. 2-0 sounds pretty sweet. Of course, every game, every week's important. You try to, be better than the last week, improve. And, we have a big test on the road, our first road game against the Panthers in Milton Friday night at Milton.
Most definitely, and you're going to see Marlon Courtney hopefully come out for the third straight game. He looks like the young man's just getting better each and every game, Bob.
Oh, I absolutely. And if he can't beat you through the air, he'll beat you with his legs. And, with a victory like we had against Pace, we were able to play, some second stringers, which is important because, you're just one play away from an injury. And our backup quarterback didn't do so bad himself on the ground. So, things are bright for Navarre. Enjoy the win, but, next week's another game. We saw, a very heralded Crestview team, go into Escambia Friday night.
What a surprise that was.
Yeah, and, running on all cylinders and then get shut out. I mean, not just beat, but shut out. And
I knew there was a chance that they could go over there because that's always a very tough place to play over there at Emmett Smith Field. And they just couldn't get the offense going. 4 interceptions on the night, and 2 of them, I believe, were returned for touchdowns as well.
Pick sixes. And so, so that was that was a district game, wasn't it?
No, that was not. Escambia stayed in 6A.
That's right.
Crestview moved on up to 7. Well, this is Irish Bill with Bob Grant. This is Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. We're here for week 2 of our show here at Culver's in downtown beautiful Navarre, just about a block from the bridge leading out to beautiful Navarre Beach. This is Irish Bill's Twist on Sports, the 3rd year here at Culver's. And I want to thank Honey and Randy Smith for all that they do and allow us to come into their venue and bring you Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Tonight we're going to recap the Navarre Pace game, and we're going to go over some offensive and defensive stats from that game, and we're going to go over some season stats so far for the Raiders. Then we're going to move on to our Super 7 power rankings. We have a change at the top, just a little lead into that one, and then we'll go over our 2 stars of the week. We are now recognizing this year a offensive and defensive player. And we're going to go over this week's schedule. We're going to do my picks. And then one of my favorite parts of the show, we're going to go over and talk about former Navarre Raiders. We actually have some games to talk about that our Raiders played in last week.
Right.
The rest of them should be getting underway this weekend. I will be heading over to Fort Valley State in Fort Valley, Georgia, just near Macon and Robins Air Force Base. For my son Brady's teams, Miles heads on over there for their first game of the 2019 season. And then we're going to finish up with some Gulf South Conference action as they start play tomorrow night with 2 games. And let's get right into this show, Bob. Navarre got out to the lead as first. It seems they have a tendency. First thing they do is win the toss every week.
So far, so good.
They went on and they set an example again this year, scoring first in the first 2 games. They jumped out to a 13-0 lead at the end of one, a 27-0 at the halftime, and eased on home to a 34-0 victory. Our Ian Lockwood, player of the game, we just couldn't pick one person. We had to go with that front 7 of Navarre as they registered 8 sacks on the night.
Yeah, they were tenacious and, really stopped Pace. They couldn't do anything. Pace maybe should have done what they did in the third and fourth quarters early on, was have that quarterback be a little bit mobile and run some plays off them. Because I think in the second half, whether it was second string or not, Pace got a lot of the negative yardage that they had in the first half back against our second and third string players. But nonetheless, I think play call second half for Pace was much better. But they just couldn't get on the board because of that defensive front 7.
8 sacks, 16 tackles for loss.
Yeah.
It was a rough night going for Tyler Hunter in the backfield along with Brandon Miller. But with all the pressure, I thought Brandon Miller he presented himself rather well.
Yeah, it was in that one play that he was on a scramble and he lost his helmet, and he kept on running, and the player rolled over him, and it's like, oh, hey, I don't have a helmet anymore. And he got up, went back. I think he went back to the sidelines because it was 4th down. But nonetheless, pretty tough kid, and I think they'll be competitive this year. But just Navarre was no match for them.
Yeah, their quarterback from last year transferred over to Mobile Christian, Kason Link. So he's playing for the Mobile Christian this year. Okay. Back to our game, offensive player of the game, Marlon Courtney. Second straight weeks. Defensive player of the game, we couldn't decide on one there either. So even though it ended up, our Jaden Rivera was our special teams player of the game. He easily could have been our defensive player of the game as he finished the night with 10 tackles, 1 sack, and 2 tackles for loss. And this was the Raiders' 17th shutout in school history. Just throw a little fact out there at you. The Raiders got on the board first at the 6:35 mark, a 25-yard run by Jaden Antonio. Preston Penton would add the extra point. It was 7-0 Navarre. After they got the ball back on a Pace punt at the 1:44 mark, a 44-yard pass to a wide-open Gabe Davis from Courtney. Kick was just a little bit wide right, 13-0 after end of 1. They head to the second quarter. Raiders on the board at the 9:07 mark. The first rushing touchdown for Isaiah Miller as he transferred to Navarre here during the summer. And Penton's kick was good, and it was 20-0 Navarre. And near ending the end of the first half, Courtney found Trent Hall crossing across the middle, and Hall did the rest down the near sideline and dove into the end zone with 7.1 seconds left on the clock and a 27-0 lead at the half. Only one score in the second half, a 24-yard run by Antonio. Penton with the kick. Antonio would add a 67-yard touchdown a little bit later in the fourth quarter, but apparently the old penalty bug has been abusing the Raiders on the big plays so far here early on.
Yeah, and the adversity is going to come. Penalties are going to come, but it's how you respond to that really tells of your character. And so I think that's one thing that head coach Jay Wall is going to focus on. We got to get rid of those penalties. The wide receivers, was it really necessary, to hold the block that long, and with the emphasis on hold the block, and but a lot of speed once he got it into the open, or it could have been,
his third touchdown on the night.
Third touchdown, and then I think, was it Trent Hall, the backup quarterback?
Backup quarterback was Jason Deal.
Deal, that's right.
Ran out of gas.
He did. I mean, easily could have been, the score could have easily been in the 50s. I mean, obviously, Jay put in a lot of the second and third stringers, which you need.
Late in the third quarter,
yeah,
played the whole fourth quarter.
Yeah, and you want to battle test them because, district games are up ahead. You got road games and the like in Tallahassee that they'll have to face. So, I mean, just look at, in a small comparison, look at what Alabama did when they lost their star linebacker. They started 2 freshmen. So you never know when the injury bug will hit or other things happen. So it's good that the Raiders got a lot of playing time there on defense and offense.
Courtney ended up on the night 13 for 20 for 189 yards, 360 yards, and 4 touchdowns through the first 2 games. Navarre was led in the receiving corps. What a night for Tyler England. The yards may not be there, but 9 receptions, the majority of them in the first half for 75 yards. The big touchdown passes to Gabe Davis and Trent Hall, and then Gabe Apongan with his first varsity catch on the night late in the fourth quarter, 24-yarder. On the ground for the Raiders, led by Jaden Antonio. Still yet to break 100, but I think that's just around the corner for that young man.
Yep.
He led the way with 11 carries, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The offense for Navarre, 430 yards, pace 175. I think that number was a little high. Yep. That was based on the pace statistics off of Max Preps. Preston Penn 4-5 on extra points. Struggled a little bit on his kickoffs and his distance, but Tyler England also had a kind of a rough night as he averaged just 29 yards on 4 punts on the night. Jaden Rivera led the defense with 10 tackles, a sack, and a tackle for loss. Jeffrey Maddox, another solid game, 9 tackles, 2 sacks, tackle for loss. Devin Wright with the sophomore stepping up with 8 tackles, the younger brother of Dante Wright. Pretty soon they're going to be saying, Dante's my older brother. We're going to be talking about Devin.
Right.
Bailey Houston, the corner, had a nice game there. Actually, he plays a little bit of safety, 8 tackles. Nate Herron, another nice game, 8 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Quarterback Hurry. And another big night from Grady Kelly as 4 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hurries, 9 quarterback hurries through the first 2 games, Bob.
And he's a senior, correct?
No, he's only a junior.
Oh, Lord. I was going to say, but even now, I bet you, though, that, some college coaches may be taking a peek at him because, he's quite the athlete, pretty good speed, works off the tackles, even guys bigger than him, as Pace offensive line was big as usual, but he got the penetration and had another great night for the Raiders.
Of all those names I mentioned, only one was a senior.
Wow. And
that's Jeffrey Maddox. Another nice night from Sebastian Melendez, also a sophomore, 6 tackles and a quarterback hurry. Brandon Wangren with 6 tackles, tackle for loss, quarterback hurry. Almost everybody. And a really nice night from senior Paul Schultz as he had 3 tackles, credited with the block extra point, 4 tackles for loss, and 4 quarterback hurries for the senior.
The common denominator is tackles for loss. Navarre got great penetration. Those front 7. That's why they were our defensive player of the game. No reason. The penetration, and it was safeties and cornerbacks and linebackers just cleaning up after them.
Most definitely. The Raiders finished with 430 yards on the ground, 3 of 9. One thing they've kind of struggled so far early on, 1 for 5 in the first game, 3 for 9 in the second game. So they're struggling a little bit on the third downs, where that was not much of an issue last year for the Raiders.
No, and on fourth down they had the 2 successful fake punts. I've never seen one team in consecutive fourth downs do
in the first quarter, but nonetheless.
So, I mean, that shows the confidence that Jay has in that young man, the up back. And, he went left both times and got first downs, yardage, important first down yardage for the Raiders.
I've been everybody that I talked to about Jaden Rivera says you're going to see a lot over this young man over the next couple of years. They say he's a very humble young man. He works hard. They have a stat on defense called extra bones. That means a player that goes the extra yardage and gives the extra effort. And he had 2 the other night. And another guy that's had a lot of bones this year, Bailey Houston. He's our team leader through the first 2 games with 7, and actually right up there with Joaquin Ravenel. He may not be much in the stat sheet, but when you're giving that extra effort, as those 2 young men are, the coach is going to know you, and he's going to get you in that lineup as much as possible.
It's hard to keep you out of the lineup when you have statistics like that.
On the season, the Raiders averaging 390 yards per game. Very balanced attack, 210 yards rushing, 180 through the air. 4 of 14 on third down conversions, 2 of 2 on fourth downs. They have turned the ball over a couple of times, and the one thing they did that the Raiders didn't do the other night was force a turnover.
Yeah, I noticed that, and a lot of times it was just the Raiders were there on point of contact and made the sure tackle, and it really didn't give Pace much of an opportunity to run in the open until maybe later in the game.
Yeah, Marlon Courtney on the season, 23 for 35 for 360. That's a 66% passing. That's pretty darn good.
Yep.
Jaden Antonio, 26 carries for 162 yards. He's your rushing leader. Tyler England with 12 catches through 2 games for 149 yards. And the Raiders just getting it done on the season. They only have allowed a single touchdown in the second half, and they've outscored their opponents in every quarter thus far. And leading the season, well, actually, let's go over to we've already talked about the game stats on defense. Let's talk a little bit about our seasonal leaders. Jeffrey Maddox, after 2 games with 21 tackles, averaging over 10 a game. They got another stat they call the big hits. And usually the person with the most big hits at the end of the games gets to carry the big stick, something that's big at Navarre. Jaden Rivera with 15 tackles, Devin Wright with 14, Grady Kelly with 13, Bailey Houston with 12, Nate Herring. So they're not concentrating just on shutting down one individual. A lot of Raiders getting into the tackle column.
Yeah, and when you're setting up an offensive blocking scheme, like you said, it's hard to pinpoint one person to go after because they have so many. And that's good in a lot of ways. Early in the season, it ain't exactly cool out there.
No. In fact, we could tell being up on the roof that it has been rather sticky.
Yeah, and imagine what it is on the field level. It's got to be a few degrees warmer, and then you have the pads on and the helmet and such. But hydration. By Florida State, someone else.
We're not going to go there, Bob.
No, hydration was not the issue on the field. Up on the roof, it was because it was a little dry up there for us.
Even the play-by-play guy went down with the stomach cramp.
Yeah, it was. It was a tough night for us, but fortunately, I didn't see players from either team really cramping up or anything, which is good news.
Well, we're at this portion where we're going to take a commercial break, and then we'll come back with our class rankings from 8A on down to 1A, and we'll continue on with Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. I'm Irish Bill with Bob Grant from Culver's in Navarre, and we'll be back after this break.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
Navarre Raider Sports is brought to you by Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Residential Real Estate, your local real estate connection. With Ursula, you got a positive, helpful partner for buying or selling a home. Ursula can help with all of your real estate needs. Whether in the Florida Panhandle or around the world, her 16 years experience in real estate will work for you with innovative marketing strategies. Thinking about selling your home? Call Ursula for a free marketing analysis to see if you qualify for one of the incentive programs. Call or text 850-642-5711. Email ursula.householder@floridamoves.com or go to householderhomes.com. Go Raiders! Your fans are all behind you at the field or while you're watching at home.
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track. Well, they're seeing to it that they are properly fed, have good transportation, or making sure that all Raider fans can hear all the exciting Navarre Raider football action. The Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks, Navarre Raider Quarterback Club, for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on IrishBillSports.com.
Have you always wanted to just escape? How about a perfect cruise getaway? Or maybe an adventure to Europe or Hawaii? How about an all-inclusive resort? Then you need to call Cruise Planners Qualified Vacation Planner Judy Bruce today. She is a full-service agent ready to plan your escape. Enjoy dinner at sea, live entertainment, and fun activities. Visit exotic destinations, Alaska, Europe, Belize, all in the comfort of a cruise or land package. Cruise Planners is your land and cruise experts. Judy Bruce will plan your dream vacation. Cruise Planners offers great prices with all the extras. Ask about the military or senior discounts. Call Judy Bruce at 828-837-8399. Find her on Facebook at Judy Bruce Cruise Planners or online at DandyLionsJourneyTravel.com. Email judy.bruce@cruiseplanners.com.
Well, welcome back to week 2 of Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Bob Grant with Irish Bill here. We're at Culver's in downtown beautiful Navarre, just about a block from the bridge leading out to Navarre Beach. This is our second week here in 2019. It's time to go over all the classifications and their rankings. We'll start with Class 8A. No teams from the Panhandle in 8A yet. Yeah. You never know with the growing enrollment at Navarre.
Exactly.
We'll go 1 to 10. Columbus, South Dade, Mandarin, Western, Seminole, Vero Beach, Riverview, Sarasota. That's where my nephew, Robert Bruce, played baseball at and then went on to play over at Stetson. Number 8 at Apopka, Miami, Palmetto, and number 10, Osceola out of Kissimmee. And 7A, that will affect a couple of teams here locally. In the number 1 spot, Lakeland. What a strong team they have this year. St. Thomas Aquinas, as always, at number 2. Edgewater, Armwood, Venice, Atlantic out of Delray. Navarre comes in at number 7. These are the FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com rankings. Wekiva at 8, Plantation at 9, Palm Beach Lakes comes in at number 10. And Lincoln off a loss to Rockledge at strong 5A team last week, 34-20. They come in at number 12, and Niceville comes in at number 13. In Class 6A, Columbia, Miami Central, Escambia. What a strong performance last week for them.
Oh, absolutely.
Strong backfield there with A.V. Smith and Frank Passant, both players looking at Division I possibilities, and they got a strong defense as well. Naples at 4, Gaither at 5, Charlotte at 6, Palmetto 7, Dillard 8, Miami Southridge 9, Mainland comes in at 10. In Class 5A, you got Miami Northwestern, Vanguard, American Heritage Plantation, Rockledge, the team we just talked about, Jones, Lake Wales, North Marion, Rains, Wakulla, and Wakulla always a strong team. That's where one Felipe Franks went to high school at, and Jesuit comes in at number 10. Let's move over to 4A, Miami Carroll City. What's funny, I just mentioned 3 Miami teams, Miami Central, Miami Northwestern, and Miami Carroll City. Last year, they were all in the same district last year in 6A. And now Miami Carroll City's the 2 times defending state champion in 6A, moved all the way down to 4A. They're number 1 in 4A, followed by NSU University School, Cardinal Gibbons, Booker T. Washington out of Miami, Cocoa, Glade Central, Gulliver Prep. Cocoa had the fun of going up and playing at Hoover this past weekend.
Oh,
Glade Central at 6, Gulliver Prep 7, American Heritage at 8, American Heritage Delray Beach, South Sumter at 9, and the Villages at 10. Down to 3A, Chaminade Madonna at 1, Trinity Christian out of Jacksonville 2, Florida High out of Tallahassee comes in at number 3. They are led by Willie Taggart Jr.
Willie Taggart.
We'll mention his name here in a little bit when we get to our players, our noteworthy performances from last week. Berkeley Prep at 4, Benjamin at 5, Pensacola Catholic moves into number 6. Yeah. King's Academy at 7, Bishop Moreau at 8, Holy Trinity at 9, Trinity Catholic at 10. In 2A, Victory Christian, Champagnat Catholic, University Christian, North Florida Christian out of Tallahassee, Admiral Farragut, Cambridge Christian, Foundation Academy, First Baptist out of Naples, Evangelical Christian, and St. Joseph's. In Class 1A, this team should not be in Class 1A. I'm sorry. Madison County, you need to hike on up to about 4A or 5A. I don't care what your enrollment is. You have no competition in 1A.
I heard there's a few bridges in Madison County.
Good one. Bob?
Yeah, thank you.
To go with our 1961 Drifter song,
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Up on the Roof.
Exactly.
We got that joke is as old as the Drifter song. And Baker comes in at number 2. They're 1-0 on the season. Pahokee, Bluntstown, another team that in the Panhandle here, in between here and Tallahassee. Vernon, another one, a strong start. Port St. Joe. The 1A is littered with Panhandle teams here. Lafayette at 7, Hawthorne at 8, Sneeds, another strong start, 2-0 on the season. And Dixie County comes in at number 10, Northview at 12. So there's your anything that stands out there in the rankings there, Bob?
Well, a little close to home where I teach at Emerald Coast Middle, right near South Walton High School. South Walton not off to the start that head coach Phil Teza wanted. They have Baker this week, okay? Then they have
up there.
I think it's
That's a tough place to play.
In South Walton, and then they play later on. They play Mariana. After Baker, I think they play Port St. Joe.
That's not an easy start. You're saying there's 1A teams in there, but those are strong 1A teams.
Oh,
Port St. Joe and Baker. In fact, one of the young men that's at Alabama got his start there at Port St. Joe. Ty Sanders. He went on down to IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida. Now a 5-star, one of the top running backs. Unfortunately, he's hurt, so Alabama just plugs someone else into that lineup. But a lot of great 1A football here in the Panhandle.
Absolutely, and as you go over some of these teams, with Hurricane Dorian still out there, I think it'll be out there. Hopefully, it'll go away, but it might be Christmas by the time it decides to do something. I wonder how many of these games will be played.
It's putting along like Florida State's offense in the second half.
Thank you.
Sorry, I had to go there. I'm sorry.
I could not get the ACC network on my TV, and anyway, So I listened to the game on the radio, and it was probably a good thing. It saved me from breaking my TV by throwing a bat or a football.
Well, you couldn't ask for a better person to listen to. Gene Deckerhoff is one of my favorite broadcasters. Him and Mick Huber for the Gators. Two guys that and you're forgetting Eli Gold for Bama. Three of the best broadcasters in all of college football. We've lost Rod Bramlett a few months ago, and the Auburn community is still trying to get along after that loss. But we got three excellent broadcasters in our listening area.
And you're supposed to be. Deckerhoff's always been, very conservative. He tries to, play the middle. You're the play-by-play guy, and I could just tell he aged a few years watching that, second half. And I'm telling you, people will laugh at me. Florida State's home game against Monroe. I don't know.
And another thing, Bob, is you couldn't even get your fan base to come out on $10 ticket day.
Yeah.
And now you're going to bring in I'm not talking down about Louisiana Monroe, but they're a smaller Division I team, and it's going to be hard. It'll be interesting to see how the stands look on Saturday.
Yeah, and I just don't know. I know Willie Taggart is certainly on the hot seat, which kind of carries over to as a segue to the players in the state that performed well. Willie Taggart Jr. I don't know what is he a senior or a junior?
I think he's a junior.
So recruiting is going to be key, for him. Is he going to go to Florida State? Is Willie Taggart going to be there that long? Where is he going to go? And by his stats, I don't know who they've played, but certainly he's a quality quarterback. Something I'm sure Florida State, if his dad's still there, would want to recruit. Something that they haven't done a lot of, keeping hometown kids there. But if Florida State doesn't perform, if Florida State doesn't perform well this week, or they lay down, or frankly, I think this is a key game. Who would ever think that Louisiana Monroe would be a key game in Florida State? Because, other than Alabama State, Louisville looked
well. You look at their schedule over the next 3 weeks.
Virginia.
You got Virginia, who's one of the better teams in the Coastal Division of the ACC. You go to, I believe, you got North Carolina State in there in Game 5, a team that always gives Florida State fits.
Oh, yikes!
And then I think you got a Boston College team in there as well. From year to year, you don't know how Boston College is going to be, especially with Adazio up there after he left the state of Florida. But if you don't get a win this week, you could be looking at an 0-5 start, and I think that would be the end of the means of one Willie Taggart.
Well, $17 million is the payout, and I know Scott Moore on the radio today talked about it, and again, it's way too early. And if this was your dad, it'd be hard for me to focus if I was Willie Taggart's family, because, let's face it, now he's on the hot seat. The buyout, $17 million, is a lot. But Scott Moore mentioned on the drive home, possible candidates somewhere somewhere, and he mentioned the defense coordinator at Clemson,
Brent Venables,
as a to go out and get because but some dominoes are going to fall. Brent Venables may not be at Clemson that long, and Scott gave the scenario that Jason Garrett of the Cowboys, his contract's up this year, and if they don't do well, the coach at Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley, Jerry Jones dreams of Lincoln Riley, right? Yeah. Lincoln Riley come in, perhaps it's all guessing right now. What ifs? He would maybe Jerry Jones hires Lincoln Riley. Brett Venable coached on a national championship team at Oklahoma, and you know Oklahoma boosters will throw the bank at him. He's I think Brett Venable is the highest paid assistant. I think he's making $2 million a year, but Venable has got 2 national championships at Clemson, at least one with Oklahoma, and so I mean we'll see. We'll see. And let me just say this: Willie Taggart is a super nice guy, and he, relates to players very well. He said they had the best fall. There wasn't a bad fall practice, and you like hearing that. But then to come out and say, well, it was hydration, our defense. Well, here's the deal. If your defense is, I don't care what level, from Pee Wee on up to the NFL, even Canadian football, that other sport up there in Canada, if your defense is on the field 2/3 of the time, anybody's going to be tired. The key to it is getting 3 and outs, and so your defense can go sit down. But, to come out, and I know he kind of came back on his comment about hydration. Here's the deal. This is what I was taught years ago. What I think Willie should have said. Hey, I'm the captain. I'm the coach. The buck stops with me. The coaches didn't do their job. I didn't do my job. We all could have done better. Next question. That's it. That's it. No excuses.
I want to throw a couple more young coaches' names out there, and these 2 young men have done big things at the schools. They're outside the Power 5, but doing big things. I like Mike Norvell over at Memphis, good young coach there, and Matt Campbell out at Iowa State.
I love Matt Campbell.
Those are 2 names that could possibly be thrown into the ring. Maybe not with the Florida State job, but others coming open in the very near future. But there's a couple of names to throw out there. Urban Meyer, throw back out there. But I honestly I don't think Urban's coming back.
No, I mean he's an excellent analyst. I mean he's not Kirk Herbstreit, but he's an excellent analyst. He's been around the game a long time. Utah, Florida, Ohio State. But if Urban comes back, it might be at USC. That's the only place that I could see.
That's what I'm hearing. That's what Scott Moore keeps on saying is it's USC. Well, we've gotten through all that conversation on Florida State, and now we're going to move over to Irish Bills Super 7 Panhandle Power Rankings after Week 2, and we have a new leader on the top after Crestview goes down last week. Navarre moves up to the number 1 spot, but it is very slim margin between them and Escambia right now at 2. Niceville moves up from 4 to 3. Crestview drops down to 4. Pine Forest stays fast at 5. Fort Walton stays there at 6. And Catholic replaces Choctaw into the top 7. My honorable mentions, Washington, Choctaw, Walton, Baker, and Northview. The Northview game I got to go. I'm really good friends with their head coach out there, Derek Marshman. We actually started broadcasting with the same company before he went back to school, got his teaching license, and now is the head football coach out at Northview. They had a 26-21 lead with 4 minutes to go, and they let Flomaton, who's a defending state champ in Alabama, go down and score to take a 27-26 lead. Well, Northview had no timeouts left. So on the ensuing kickoff, Flomaton does a sky kick. The Northview player muffs the ball. Yikes. They recover. So Derek goes, we got to let them score. We have no timeouts left. Well, they go down and score to take a 34-26 lead. And so they go to kickoff again, and same thing happens again. Muff punt, or muff kickoff, and Northview loses 34-26 on the road at Flomaton, and that was a tough loss. And in fact, Derek didn't want to. I usually talk to him out on Twitter afterwards after his games, but he was very short with me that night.
Get away from sharp objects.
But our star of the weeks this week, from Washington High School. What a revamped job by the head coach that moved over from Niceville. And Whidden is his name. And I think it's Bobby Joe Whidden. He was at Niceville the last few years. He's now the head coach at Washington.
Played at Niceville.
And they have their first victory in their last, I believe, 14 games last week. And they did it in outstanding fashion with a 22-0 whitewash of West Florida. Eric Smith, 12 receptions, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns. And our defensive player, second week in a row, we've had a Sneeds player, this time on the defensive side of the ball. I easily could have picked the running back once again, as I tell you his numbers here in just a second. But Alonzo Hill, linebacker for the Sneeds Pirates, had 20 tackles, 9 solos, 11 assists, and a fumble recovery. And those are your stars of the week on Irish Bill's Super 7 Panhandle Power Rankings.
Yep.
And so congratulations goes out to those two. Other noteworthy performances, we're not going to go over all of them, as you can find it on my website, irishbillsports.com. That's www.irishbillsports.com. Check in the blog section, and it has all the names listed. And also you can go out on Facebook, on my Facebook page, Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Pine Forest, I love this quarterback out of Pine Forest. Ladarius Clardy had a nice game, 19-33, 266 yards, 2 touchdowns. Willie Taggart Jr., 14 of 19 for 239 and 3 scores. Also had a rushing touchdown. He's over at Florida High. Escambia's A.V. Smith, over 200 yards, 15 of 23, 3 touchdowns. Well, he didn't need to score much because his defense pretty much took over from there.
Yep.
Lighthouse Christian, they got their first win last week as they just steamrolled Rocky Bayou 41-6. Deontay Reinhardt with 202 yards passing. And a nice game also from Navarre's Marlon Courtney, Robert Sherlock for Washington, Chase Moultrie from Crestview. He had to throw a ball a lot as he was trying to come back. And Niceville's, I like this quarterback over there. I haven't had a chance to watch him play because every time that they play Navarre, he's been hurt. Will Koch, 11 of 18, 142 touchdowns. And he also carried the ball 17 times for 117 yards and a score. So there's your quarterbacks. And it was a great day for running backs last Friday night, especially in 1A and I believe North Bay Haven still in 1A or 3 or something like that. Cam Grant for North Bay Haven, 25 carries, 281 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I was reading a story the other day out of the News Herald out of Panama City. His dad sets a goal for him that if he reaches it Saturday, he gets Saturday off from doing chores. And the goal was that he rushed for, I believe it was 150 yards. Well, he did much better than that as he went for 281 last week and 4 touchdowns. Calvin Stringer, last week he was at 250-something. Well, he reached 250 again. Wow. And this time he did it on 9 carries. He had 3 touchdowns. Brandon Seipels of Freeport, 216 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. And we had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. About 10 more guys that rushed for over 100 yards. And one team had 2 backs that rushed for 100. Weewa Hitchcock, Tyreek Thomas, and Zay McDaniel as they run that veer offense over there at Weewa. I love saying the name of Weewa. It just kind of flows off of your. There's your. Now let's move over to the wide receivers as we also have great performances from Von Hill. This guy is being heavily recruited. 4 receptions, 135 yards, and a score. Scambia's. This young man is you're going to watch this man on Saturdays. JoJo Blackman. He's even got that's a football name, JoJo.
Exactly.
7 receptions, 111 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Tate's Keaton Salmonson, 6 receptions, 94 yards. And then Navarre's Tyler England with 9 receptions for 75 yards. Let's move over to the defense. Seth Scott and Scambia's from Sneeds and Scambia's Tabari Taylor with 14 tackles each. Austin Moody from Sneeds with 13. Quite a few others with 11 tackles. You say, well, what's the criteria to reach in defense? Well, if you register 10 tackles, Irish Bill's going to let the people know out there that you did a good job last week. But the very last one didn't register 10 tackles. Pine Forest's DeCarian McWilliams. He only had 5 tackles, but he also had 2 interceptions for 95 yards, and he took both of them to the house.
Wow. Pick sixes.
And our kicking, Pine Forest Dakota Weaver, 4 for 4 on extra points, 1 for 1 on field goals, and Leon's Jack Brooks, 2 for 2 and 1-for-1 on field goals. So your top 7, Irish Bills top 7 for this week: Navarre, Escambia, Niceville, Crestview, Pine Forest, Fort Walton Beach, and Catholic. And your stars of the week from Washington, offensive player, wide receiver Eric Smith. From Sneads, Alonzo Hill with 20 tackles. This Irish Bill with Bob Grant. We're going to head out to commercial break, and we'll be back for more of Irish Bill's Twist on Sports after this word from our sponsors.
Craig Culver of Culver's. Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
Navarre Raider Sports is brought to you by Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Residential Real Estate, your local real estate connection. With Ursula, you got a positive, helpful partner for buying or selling a home. Ursula can help with all of your real estate needs. Whether in the Florida Panhandle or around the world, her 16 years experience in real estate will work for you with innovative marketing strategies. Thinking about selling your home? Call Ursula for a free marketing analysis to see if you qualify for one of the incentive programs. Call or text 850-642-5711. Email ursula.householder@floridamoves.com or go to urhouseholderhomes.com. Go Raiders! Your fans are all behind you at the field or while you're watching at home.
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track. Well, they're seeing to it that they are properly fed, have good transportation, or making sure that all Raider fans can hear all the exciting Navarre Raider football action. The Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks, Navarre Raider Quarterback Club, for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on IrishBillSports.com.
Have you always wanted to just escape? How about a perfect cruise getaway? Or maybe an adventure to Europe or Hawaii? How about an all-inclusive resort? Then you need to call Cruise Planners Qualified Vacation Planner Judy Bruce today. She is a full-service agent ready to plan your escape. Enjoy dinner at sea, live entertainment, and fun activities. Visit exotic destinations, Alaska, Europe, Belize, all in the comfort of a cruise or land package. Cruise Planners is your land and cruise experts. Judy Bruce will plan your dream vacation. Cruise Planners offers great prices with all the extras. Ask about the military or senior discounts. Call Judy Bruce at 828-837-8399. Find her on Facebook at Judy Bruce Cruise Planners or online at DandyLionsJourneyTravel.com. Email judy.bruce@cruiseplanners.com.
3 claps, we're ready tonight. 3 claps. 3 claps. 3 claps. 27 years ago, I sat in this locker room just like you guys, on a knee, getting ready to play a game. I walked down the locker room, it still smells the same. It takes you back real quick. One of the things that caught me was how fast 27 years goes by. There's so many people that live vicariously through you. I would give anything tonight to jump in one of these uniforms with you guys.
do something I never had an opportunity to do. My father never saw me play. You played for your fathers tonight.
That feeling goes away. It goes away, and it doesn't come every Friday night. It comes when you get married. It comes when your child's born. So you get it, but you just don't get it every Friday night. You're going to miss that more than anything in the world. That's what I miss. And so you seniors,
We're going to let
that
this song play a little bit as we come back.
Focused on
once the song starts,
your work
we'll
after
start
high school,
talking.
what you're going to do next. You're focused on tomorrow, aren't you? You got plenty of time for tomorrow. But these tonights, they're going by fast. You focus on tonight. This is about you guys. This is about the guys in this room that care about each other, that know there's only so many more of these nights left. It's about you. They're a faceless opponent. They just happen to draw the short straw tonight. Now get your asses ready to play. Win on three. 1, 2, 3.
I feel that chill, smell that.
We're going to let it play in the background. Welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. This is Irish Bill with Bob Grant here at Culver's in downtown Navarre. Beautiful Culver's set up here. 4 years open now, and we appreciate them. We're just going to let the song play in the background as we talk about this Friday's games. Appropriate that we talk about Friday's games with this song playing. Fort Walton Beach at Arnold. I'm going with, actually that was from last Friday night, where I went, after going 24-3 in the first week, I went 16-9 last week. For still respectable 64% if I was going against the spread.
Was it hydration?
I think it was hydration. But so through 2 weeks, I'm 40-12. Not too bad, 76.9, respectable 76.9%. Our game's coming up this Friday night, and I've made my selections already. But Godby going on the road to Crestview. Godby has lost 2 tough games. They're not going to lose a third, as I have them upsetting Crestview at home Friday night. Navarre goes on the road to Milton, another Santa Rosa. 3 straight for the Raiders to start the season. The Raiders going to get win number 3, and Jay Wall's 73rd victory in his 90th game. Niceville on the road at Fort Walton Beach. 2 teams that are 2-0.
Right.
Fort Walton Beach only had 1 win all last season, and love their coach Doran down there, doing a great job at Fort Walton. But the Eagles have not allowed a single point in their first 2 games.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game to watch. It's at Fort Walton, my alma mater. Go Vikings. And I'm going to go with the Vikings in that game. 3-0. I mean, what a turnaround from only 1 win last year.
Next, we move on to Tate and Lincoln, a district matchup here between Tate and Lincoln. Tate goes on the road to Tallahassee, 1-1. A very young Tate team, I don't believe, has very much of a chance against Lincoln. Always strong program. I'll go with Lincoln in that one. Escambia 2-0 and Pine Forest 1-0, probably the 2 best teams. And we're going to go ahead and exit off airs. We're getting a little streaming issues, but we're going to go ahead and exit out of there.
I wonder what the over and under would be if there was a line in that game as far as points. It could be a 45-43 game with those 2 teams.
But it also could be with 2 strong defenses. It could almost be one of those slobber knocker 9-6 games.
Could be.
Or 12-10. You just never know. But I'm going with Escambia.
Okay.
Just too tough too early on.
I agree. It's going to be a tough job. They, like us, will have to go to Lon Wise Stadium and play Pine Forest.
Gulf Breeze with 2 tough losses to start the season against Navarre and Catholic, 2 of their rivalry games. Now they go on the road to face Choctaw, 1-1 on the season, and playing their first game at their home stadium.
Right.
I'm going with Gulf Breeze on the road.
I think that's a good pick. I like that.
West Florida 0-2 going to tough Catholic. West Florida really down their first couple of games after being shut out by Washington last week. I'm going with Catholic at home. Tough place to play. Yeah,
West Florida was one of the teams that beat Crestview last year. So Catholic's up. Home game. Yeah, I agree with that.
Number 6 in the state in 3A. Florida High goes up the road a little bit from South Tallahassee to northern Tallahassee to Childs, Florida High 2-0, taking on a 1-1 Childs team. I'm going with the Seminoles on the road. The team, the Seminoles that are winning. Gadsden County 0-1.
Knife out of my back.
Gadsden County 0-1 at Leon 1-1. I'm going with the 7A Leon Lions, also a district foe of Navarre. Mosley 1-1 at Wakulla. The War Eagles, it is almost impossible to beat those guys at that stadium. For one thing, it's almost impossible to find your way to Crawfordville to get to that stadium. And I'm gonna throw out a fact here. I might have told this fact out here before. Do you know what Crawfordville is known for? When the original Tarzan series was filmed, it was at Crawfordville, Florida.
Kidding.
And a lot of
Ron Ely?
Yeah, a lot of the animals and the insects were basically left there after the series was over with. So it's a very populated mosquito area over there in Crawfordville. Very, very wet. It's a kind of a swampy area a little bit over there, but it's very hard to get to. And usually by the time you're done playing them, you got a long way home. I'm going with the War Eagles at home. Pensacola off to a rough start, 0-2 at Washington, 1-0. I'm going with Washington to stay unbeaten. Arnold 0-2 at Walton. Walton off to a tough 2 weeks, 2-0.
Yeah. I think it's going to be 3-0. I agree with there.
South Walton 0-2, going on the road to Baker and the land of the Gators. And I'm going with Baker. It doesn't matter who's playing for Baker. Coach Brunson. That's close. Brinsfield is Navarre. He's assistant coach.
Right.
Let's send out our prayers to him as he's still recovering from his bout in the hospital. But Brunson, he gets those boys fired up every Friday night.
Yep.
And Rutherford 1-1 at Taylor County. Taylor County off to a slow start, 0-2. People say, well, where is Taylor County? Do you know where Perry is at? That's where Taylor County is at.
Right in the hook of Florida.
Right in the hook as you take that right turn and go south.
Yep.
That's Perry. It's on the eastern side of Tallahassee. I'm going with Rutherford in that one. North Bay Haven 1-1 at Bay, 0-2. Rough start for Bay, but I'm going to give Bay their first victory on the season.
I'll have to go with North Bay Haven.
And this game is going to be really interesting. You have 4A Mariana off to a 2-0 start, traveling to Bluntstown, 1-0, as they knocked off a 6A team, actually, 5A team in their first game on the road. This is their first home game since prior to Hurricane Michael.
Exactly, and both communities were affected by Hurricane Michael, and it's good to see that there's something to do on Friday night. The area is still recovering. Don't let anybody tell you that we're fairly good. We're going good. No, a lot of those small communities are still hurting. A lot of homes still damaged, and the like. So it's good to see those two programs doing well.
Got to know Bo Johnson a little bit, the head coach at Bluntstown, as we had him on the Southern Gentleman Sports Show a few weeks back, and we talked a little bit about what has occurred since Hurricane Michael went through there. And they just recently, right before the season started, they had their temporary lighting put up. Their stands were put back together. They were finally able to play their practice on their home field, and now they get to play their first home game since about October.
Yeah.
So Bluntstown, I'm taking Bluntstown in that one. Bozeman 1-1 at Chipley. I'm going with the Bucks on the road. Tagua Academy, Alabama travels to Vernon, a very tough Vernon team with a great running back there, Kwan Powell, a name that you're going to hear in the future.
And I think he started out at South Walton.
He actually started at Freeport.
Freeport, that's what it is.
Yeah, he played his freshman year at Freeport, transferred to Vernon last year as a sophomore, still only a junior, and I love watching this young man tote the ball. But I'm going with the Tagua Academy on the road as their favorite, I think, by 3 going into that game. Cottondale, 0-2, traveling to Liberty County. Both teams off to a tough 0-2 season, so you got to pick somebody. So I'm going with Cottondale in that one because I like Cottondale. I just like the name Cottondale. Port St. Joe 1-1 at Franklin County. There should be no match here. Port St. Joe should win that one rather handily. Freeport 2-0, traveling to Alabama to take on Pike Liberal Arts. I'm going with Freeport because I know nothing about Pike Liberal Arts. And Sneed's 2-0, a big win last week. They're at Holmes County, and I'm going with Sneed's in that one. Jay 1-1 at Flomaton, Alabama. The tough defeat for Northview, and it's going to be even tougher defeat for Jay this week going on the road to a defending state champion in Alabama. Jefferson County 1-1 at North Florida Christian. Look for North Florida Christian to get their first win on the season. They had an old coach over there that used to play at Florida State. You might remember his name. One Casey Weldon.
Oh, wow.
He was their coach there for a while. Valiant Cross, Alabama. It's a new team I believe it's either out of Montgomery or Birmingham, and they're coming down to take on another new program, Lighthouse PCA, and PCA should have their new field probably not this year, but they've broke ground this year, so hopefully next season at the very earliest they would be playing there. I'm going with Lighthouse PCA with their second win on the season.
That's awesome.
Rocky Bayou, this is a game I just kind of had to throw a card in the air, and whichever side turned up, I took, and I end up favoring the Panhandle team. But Rocky Bayou goes on the road to Jacksonville to take on St. John's Country Day, who's 1-1. Rocky Bayou 0-2. I'm going with the Knights on the road.
Yep. St. John's Country Day, year in, year out, is a pretty good ball team, but you never know.
Great basketball program over there.
Absolutely.
Then our last game, Weewa 1-1 at McClay, another team out of Tallahassee, a 1-1. Weewa has got a great running attack, but I think they're gonna find on the short end of the stick against McClay. So 16-9 last week, 24-3 the first week, 40-12 overall in our high school ball. Now let's move over to, I had a great week, but then again, week one, there's a lot of mismatches going on.
Yeah.
But I went 24-3, actually 23-2 this past week.
That's
a nice 92%.
Yeah.
My only losses of the weekend. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Boise State.
It was the hydration.
Boise State knocking off Florida State, and my other loss was, where did I look at my other loss here?
Tennessee?
Yes,
Tennessee lost.
Actually, I didn't have Tennessee because I only do ranked teams, and we know Tennessee hasn't been ranked in like forever. Sorry, Shanky.
Yeah.
If you're out there listening, sorry, Tennessee, Shanky, but you guys are not very good. I'm trying to look at the other game that I missed last week.
Did you do Missouri and Wyoming? I don't know.
I did not do Missouri and Wyoming.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at the games.
Missouri lost to Wyoming.
Iowa State came back and won against Northern Iowa. Oh, I took Northwestern over Stanford on the road. The Battle of the Brain Bowl. Stanford won 17-7. So 23-2 this past week, 24-3 overall through 2 weeks. Now let's go to our games for this week. We got Central Michigan at Wisconsin. I'm going with the Badgers. Tough place to play.
On Wisconsin.
Syracuse at Maryland. I didn't have their rankings, but I know these teams are still ranked. They'll be at Maryland, going against Maryland, who put up 79 last week against an HBCU school, Howard.
Yeah.
I'm going with Syracuse on the road. Army at Michigan. Army always plays these games tough. They played Oklahoma tough last year in Oklahoma, but I don't see them matching up well with Michigan.
Nope.
Cincinnati, the Battle of Ohio here. Cincinnati at Ohio State. A former Ohio State player, I believe Luke Fickell, is the head coach at Cincinnati now, and they're heading to Columbus to take on Ohio State. I'm going with the Buckeyes there. Rutgers, a Big Ten matchup here. Rutgers at Iowa. Iowa should win that one rather handily.
Yep.
Northern Illinois traveling out west to face the Utes.
The Utes.
Two Utes?
The
Two
Utes.
what?
That's an Indian. Of course it is.
Oh, I love it from our one of our favorite movies. And the Two Utes? Two what? Herman Munster, remember him?
Yes.
Fred, the late Fred, I can't remember his last name. He'll come to me later. But we're going with Utah there. Texas A&M at Clemson, probably one of the better games of the weekend.
Yeah, I this morning on the on the ticket, I said 28-24, something like that. I think it's going to be close early. Clemson will pull it out, but the quarterback for A&M threw for a lot of yards last year.
Kellen Mond
at home against Clemson, and Clemson lost a lot on defense. They reload, but I think it's going to be closer. I think Texas A&M is going to beat the spread in the game, but the game's at Clemson, and
they were talking about the spread this morning at being like 19. Yeah, I don't see Clemson covering that
if
much.
If they play the game too, let's keep in mind a lot of these games because of Hurricane Dorian may be canceled, moved. They could be moved up. We don't know.
I'm going with Clemson 31-17.
Okay.
We're going to move on to our next game, Nebraska at Colorado. This should be a pretty good game after we watched the Buffaloes win over Colorado State last week. I'm going with Colorado in the upset.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Murray State at Georgia, not much of a game here. Uga all the way. I think they're even going to suit up Uga the dog at running back. And
well, all you hope for in games like this is to keep your quarterbacks healthy. That's all you want to do, or keep your players healthy, not just quarterback. And
well, New Mexico State had Washington State last week in the air attack. Mike Leach just ran all over New Mexico State. Your reward? You get to travel to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama.
I saw that.
55-point spread.
Jeez.
I think Alabama will cover that easily.
I think so. And how about the Washington State coach perhaps as a replacement for Willie Taggart if the axe drops?
I loved Robbie this morning on the Ticket on the Morning show when he said Mike Leach was a man born 300 years too late. And I have a tendency to agree with him because he teaches a class on strategic something and or warfare, strategic warfare.
Yeah.
And
he has a fantasy about, not a fantasy, but he loves pirates.
He loves pirates.
He knows a lot about the lore of pirates, and
he's a character. I would love him as a coach for my team, but Notre Dame would never hire him. And we'll move on from there. Northern Colorado at Washington State. Washington State should win that one rather easily. Central Florida at Florida Atlantic, a battle of two Florida teams. I'm going UCF in this one.
Yeah, Florida Atlantic. And
throw another name out there, Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, they went up to Horseshoe and played, a pretty good ball game as you would expect Lane Kiffin's team to do, and they certainly didn't lay down. They fought. A great start by the former Georgia quarterback there, now at Ohio State, both through the air and on the ground.
South Dakota heading to Oklahoma. What a great start for Jalen Hurts in his debut with the Sooners.
That was fantastic.
We can see back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners. And a lot of people, you can tell a lot about an individual if you leave a program, the program that you leave, that their fans still like you. That's Jalen Hurts, and they wish him nothing but the best. And I tell you, but I loved his interview after the game. Very humble, but he says we got a lot of work to do. Not very happy with his defense giving up 31 points, but he kept everything in perspective. Mm-hmm. Said it's game one. We got a lot of work to do.
I'd love to see a Final Four matchup. Alabama 1, Oklahoma 4 in the semifinals.
Let's see how happy the Bama fans will be with that matchup with Tua and Jalen going head to head.
The pollsters. Can you imagine the TV ratings for that game?
Oh, it'd be because Birmingham, not just with Alabama games, Birmingham is one of the biggest numbers area in all of the country for football on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. I've heard that mentioned over and over on numerous shows.
Exactly.
Very knowledgeable fans. Only about 45, 50 minutes from Tuscaloosa. But not just for Bama. They love their football in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm. And Alabama used to play games there in Birmingham over the years.
Yeah, next we're going to move on to Florida getting back onto the field after that, whatever you want to call it, game against Miami. They face Tennessee Martin. Should be an easy win for the Gators.
Yep.
Western Michigan goes on the road to Sparty Land. Michigan State big. One of the coaches that doesn't given a whole lot of credit, but all he does is get 3 stars and 2 stars, and he turns them into really strong teams. And Mike D'Antonio, Antonio at Michigan State, going with Sparty in that one. Buffalo at Penn State, no match up there. Penn State might put 70 up again this week. Tulane at Auburn. Tulane, I have nothing for you after you kind of spurned your little nose at Navarre's Dante Wright. And so I hope Auburn beats you by 55 this week.
I heard a coach, or not a coach, but a sports writer, beat writer for the SEC, commented it. How did the SEC let Dante go to Colorado State?
Well, a lot of people look at Dante and they look at his 5'8.5", 5'9" frame. But what you can't teach with that young man, he's got heart and he's got 2 legs that let him go like 4.35 40. But he has football sense. His dad, Damian, got a tryout with the Washington Redskins. Didn't make it to their regular season team, but he made it all through camp. There's talent in that family. And when Tulane says, "Well, we're going to go with bigger," I had straight this is fact, folks. I got it straight from a reliable source. Said, "Well, we're going to go with taller receivers. You can play DB if you want," but Dante goes, "No, thank you." Very polite young man says, "No, thank you. I'm decommitting from Tulane." And 2 days later, he got a call from Coach Mike Bobo out at Colorado State. He said, "We'd like to have you come, you and your family come this weekend." And that's all it took was one trip to Fort Collins, and Mike Bobo offered Dante on the spot. And then just as you look back over the summer and all of the numbers that Dante put up in camp, you have to report early. You have to take a class to get going at school there at Colorado State. His numbers and his speeds and he has vision. He has ability. Maneuverability is probably a better word for it. He finds the open spaces, and then he turns on the afterjets, and you're not going to catch him.
Yeah, ask the Colorado defensive backs. He just blew on that one long bomb. He just blew right by him.
But he's not just a speedster. He is a football player. The catch he made on the touchdown, he went over 2 defenders, and that's another thing is he can leap. And I looked for nothing. We'll talk a little bit more about Dante in our next thing here, where former Navarre Raiders, where are they now? Over 25 Raiders are playing at the next level. Unfortunately, our Tampa Bay Bucks, Jordan Leggett did not make the 53-man roster for Tampa Bay and is on the Bucks practice squad from what I hear.
All right.
Let's move back to our college games. LSU at Texas, really good game coming up. But I like the way that LSU looked in that first game. Joe Burrow, former Ohio State quarterback, transferred to LSU his second year there. Coach O, I love listening to Coach O talk. 14 Red Bulls a day or whatever he drinks.
Oh, God.
And he loves his energy drinks, and I love to hear him talk. I don't think this game is going to be as close as a spread between LSU and Texas. I'm going with LSU on the road in Austin.
Oh, I agree. Again, Joe Burrow had it was what it was against the competition, but he threw the ball really well, good vision, and he looks like to be, at least after early on, to be a good pro style quarterback.
And our next game is going to the battle of the backup quarterbacks. Both Stanford and USC both lost their starting quarterbacks last week.
Yeah.
I'm going with Stanford because I just don't care for USC much, being a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, JT got hurt on the first play of the game.
First play of the game.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I'm going with Stanford in that one. Nevada at Oregon. I look for that Oregon team to be very strong this year. Good quarterback with Herbert. In our last game, California Golden Bears, not the real Golden Bears, because the real Golden Bears are up in Birmingham. They're the Miles College Golden Bears.
There you go.
And they're on the road at UW at Washington. That one game goes out to my good friend Noel Core.
Noel Core.
I love talking with that sports with that guy. Talking about anything with that young man. Florida ran track at Florida State.
Right.
Went on and got his master's at the University of Washington. Ran track in at Woodham High School with Justin Gatlin, and has a lot of good stories there. But there's my colleges: 23-2 last week, 1-1 the first week, 24-3 overall. Now let's move over, and we had some games played last week for our former Navarre Raiders, and that's where we're moving on to. Tampa Bay Bucks tight end Jordan Leggett, like we just said, is on the Bucks practice squad. West Florida wide receiver Quentin Randolph, a redshirt senior. He'll be being the big man on campus this season as a senior there for the Argonauts. They're playing actually on the road tomorrow night at Carson Newman, 7 p.m. kickoff. My son Brady Hamill will be at over in Fort Valley State this weekend as the SIAC defending champions go on the road to start their they start district play in week 1. 8 district games this year. And that's a Saturday kickoff as Brenda Kay and I will be heading in the car early Saturday morning for a 6 o'clock kickoff. And next we got Kennesaw State defensive end Kyle Aerosmith. He had 1 tackle last week in a 59-0 win over Point. You know where Point's at? You ever driven down 85? And you're going towards the Georgia-Alabama border, and there's a school there called Point University.
What's their mascot?
I am not sure, and I don't get the point either. But no, they're actually going on the road. They're a strong Division I AA team up in Kennesaw State, I believe just north of Atlanta.
Yep.
Next, they're going to be playing. They're going to Division I this week. They're traveling up to Ohio to play Kent State at noon Saturday. Next, we have Texas Tech defensive back Tommy Leggett. He's a redshirt junior. He had 2 tackles last week in a 45-10 win over 1AA Montana State. Next game for them this week, battle with UTEP at home on 7 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. This young man is one of my favorite Raiders of all time. Him and Chris Stapleton, well, along with my son, besides my son.
Yep.
Maryville College linebacker Bo Herring. He's a junior up there at Maryville. It's just south of Knoxville. Their game is this team that they're playing this week. They started their season with the loss to Berry. Berry's just outside of Rome, Georgia, right just down the street from Shorter University. They're a Division III school. These are Division III programs. And they're if you ever been up to their place, their facilities, every sports venue, baseball with football, soccer, they all have their own venue. Martha Berry is a very popular name in that area, and actually a 100-mile stretch of road on 27 from LaGrange on up to Rome, Georgia, is named after her, and she got the school started named after Berry College.
Okay.
But they started their season with Berry, then they got knocked out of the playoffs by Berry. So both their losses last year were to Berry. So that would be 7 o'clock. That's 7 September, 2 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Next, we move on over to North Carolina running back Michael Carter. Nice game for Michael last week.
Solid.
And the upset over South Carolina. 16 carries, 77 yards, 1 reception for 10 yards in the 24-20 win over South Kakalaka. Next, they got to host a strong Miami team. And we'll see if the Tar Heels and Mac Brown are for real coming into week 2.
And how good Miami is and how strong we thought Florida is, to see how both schools, the spread on the Miami game is pretty high. I think UNC is going to play them tough. It was good to see Mac Brown back. I love the guy, and just old school. And so,
and know one thing though, Bob, he has to quit. Those dance moves in the locker room were not very good.
Oh, but I mean,
but it gets the kids fired up.
Absolutely, and he's very obviously very sure of himself that he would be able to do that and let his hair down a little bit. So,
but you got 2 Panhandle players going against each other in this game. Michael Carter from Navarre and Romeo Finley from Fort Walton Beach, Niceville. They'll be going off in this game. Next, we got 4 Huntingdon College players. Junior defensive lineman Mark Struck, offensive lineman Daryl Hickson. Started as a freshman last year for the Hawks, and they like to hawk them in Huntingdon. And then we got long snapper Garrett Schluter, will be a redshirt freshman this year. And running back Chandler Cooper, he played up till his junior year at Navarre, then transferred to a school in Alabama for his senior year. And he got reacquainted with his Navarre teammates last season. They'll be going up against Guilford this Saturday at 1 o'clock on 7 September. Sage Chambers was on Huntingdon last year, transferred to Shorter. He'll be playing for the Shorter University Hawks this year as a sophomore. Will be the backup quarterback there. And their first game, they're going to play Division I AA East Tennessee State this Saturday night at 7:30. And they have a 38-game losing streak going into this game. I think you're going to chalk 39 up. But we'll be rooting for Sage and all the best here for the Hawks at Shorter University. Auburn University offensive lineman Nick Brahms did not get to play in that 27-21 win over Oregon. He's a redshirt sophomore and getting his pilot's license. He's facing professional aviation, following his dad.
Yep.
Great people. Nick Brahms, Keith and Bridget Brahms. Next up for them, and go Tulane. You know, as they don't talk about the one school on the evening show, that team out west that's blue.
Yeah.
I'll just start doing that to Tulane now.
Yeah.
That team over in Louisiana somewhere. Got cool helmets. Mm-hmm. Uniforms are cool, but
New Orleans. They're in New Orleans.
We will not mention their name anymore.
Guess where Florida State has to play next year?
Over there?
At Boise.
At Boise, okay.
And the blue
turf. That would be tough. I'm sorry, but maybe it doesn't affect you as you're playing on the field, but the camera, that just looks weird. And then you got the red turf out in East Washington.
Yeah.
And that, to me, would be worse than the blue field. Well, let's move on. Let's move over to Sam Houston State. Wide receiver Tevin Stevenson. He played his freshman and sophomore years at Navarre. Then he moved over to Allen, Texas, the big program in Allen, Texas. And now he's at Sam Houston State. He's a junior. He didn't play last week in a 39-31 loss to New Mexico. Next day up for them is Oklahoma Panhandle this Saturday at home, 6 o'clock kickoff. Then we're going to move on to Ave Maria University offensive lineman LaMarcus Smith. He's a junior down there. And you know what the nickname of the Ave Maria team is? They're the Gyrenes.
That's right. Yeah, you mentioned that.
Last week, if you were listening, you probably got the answer right out there.
Yep.
Their first game will be this week against Cumberland's Kentucky, 7 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. Next, we're going to move over to Troy. Walk-on wide receiver Jordan Williams made the team over there for Troy.
Awesome.
He's a redshirt freshman. He did not play in a 43-14 win over Campbell last week. Next, they'll be facing a tough Southern Miss program.
That's be a good ball game there. I bet you Troy will beat them. Although Southern Miss has improved, but Troy's a good program. I wouldn't want to play Troy.
Southern Miss, the home of one Brett Favre. He's an alum at Southern Miss.
Favre?
How do you get Favre out of that?
It was the movie Something About Mary. He had a cameo. Brett Favre.
Next, we're going to move out way west to California, and the Los Angeles Community College football programs out there. Southwest Community College running back Omari Green is out there. He tried walking on at Troy last year. He's now playing community college football out in California. He'll be a redshirt freshman. Their first game this week will be at San Diego Mesa, 7 September at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So I believe that would be, 3 o'clock our time or 4 o'clock?
No,
somewhere around
6
there.
6 p.m. their time is like
3?
8 o'clock or 9 o'clock our time.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm going backwards.
Yeah.
Backwards or whatever. Next, we're going to move over to Colorado State wide receiver Dante Wright. What a game last week. What a first half.
What a nice coming out party for him, and a great interview after the game. Very, very humble, and you could just tell he struggles a little bit with the notoriety, and I'm sure he'll get over it.
Very humble. I had him on my show last year, And it was if you ask him a yes or no question, he's going to answer yes or no. You have to ask him a question to let him get going. His mom, Stacy, is a good friend of mine and a great contributor to IrishBillSports.com and the Navarre sports programs. Said he struggles a little bit with the interviews, but he is getting better. 3 carries, 59 yards, a touchdown, 4 receptions, 72 yards, 2 punt returns for 19 yards. So he had 150 yards of total offense in his very first collegiate game. They battled tough with Colorado in the first half, stayed with them.
Yep.
And 52-31 loss to Colorado. But I'm looking at that game as we got home after they were weather delayed. And the play that they ran on 4th down, that kind of reminded me a little bit of the Raiders jet sweep that they ran with Dante in the last 3 years.
And you don't think Bobo noticed how well he did on that. It was good blocking, and they ran it a couple times, one right, one left, I believe.
And he wasn't even touched on that 41-yard touchdown run.
Right.
In fact, when he got to the sideline, you could just see him pulling away from the defenders, and he basically went untouched into the end zone. Great digs for Dante Wright. His mom and his grandma and his sister were there to experience this experience together. Next up for them is they'll be hosting Western Illinois. Hopefully he'll get his first collegiate win in that one.
Yep.
Next we're going to move over to West Virginia. Defensive lineman Jordan Jefferson did not play as the Mountaineers struggled with the win over Division I AA James Madison.
Yep.
And next they'll be on the road at Missouri. Missouri off an embarrassing loss to Wyoming, 38-31. And that's a noon kickoff on Saturday. South Alabama, we got a couple of Raiders over there. Wide receiver Bryson Brewer, sophomore. He walked on and made the team over there. And South Alabama linebacker Josh Carter, the younger brother of Michael and Dwayne Carter. They made the trip to Nebraska, lost very competitive, 35-21. Gave up 3 defensive and special teams touchdowns.
Saw that, yep.
And they'll be hosting Jackson State this coming Saturday at 6 p.m. Charleston Southern wide receiver Quinn Caballero. He's playing over there in Charleston. Hopefully they'll be playing this weekend.
Yeah.
And he did not play in a 46-13 loss to a tough Division I program in Furman, Division I AA. And then next they got an even tougher game as they go to South Carolina on Saturday at noon. We move up to Harding. We have a couple of Raiders up there. Defensive lineman Mitchell Hunt. And Harding long snapper James Segrist. James played his junior year. His dad Rory is the one of the defensive coordinators over at Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns.
Okay.
And so he moved over to be closer to his dad his senior year.
Right.
But we're going to keep you once a Raider, you're always a Raider.
That's right.
And so they'll be making their debut at hopefully I get this Cheetah Baptist.
Yes.
It's the Arkansas conference that they have up. Everybody plays everybody.
Right.
And they'll be playing tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And then we head on back to Missouri. Defensive lineman Alex Gilchrist, a freshman up there. He did not play in a 44-19 loss to number 8 Baker. And that's a NAIA school.
Right.
And then our last one up to a military school in Vermont, Norwich University, where Clayton Dillard is a freshman up there. Long, quick way to get there. Ooh. And they're starting their first week at Salve Regina. Hopefully I got that right.
Yep.
7 September, a noon kickoff Eastern time. So we got a lot of Raiders out there.
Yeah, and that's great. And I guarantee you there's going to be a whole lot more. We may have to extend the show another half hour.
We may have to do that. And you know what? It's my show, so we can go as long as we want.
And the boys deserve it. And so proud of Dante Wright. Known him for a long time, and they're great family. And Dante's a little shy, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like humbleness because he shows it on the field.
He lets his abilities speak for themselves.
He doesn't have any backpacks. He doesn't have any, Florida State, one of their players pulled out a scary mask. Really? Really? Come on. So
and folks, you know what? He is studying biology. He wants to be a doctor. So, he's got a little bit of smarts up there in that noggin too.
Yeah.
That's if he's not playing in the NFL someday, because with the way he started now, with his ability, there's always room in the NFL for a young man like that.
Absolutely.
And he would add a little class to any team that he would go play for.
Great locker room guy.
So there's your 25-plus Raiders that are still playing ball around the country, from California to Vermont to Missouri to Florida to you name it. We have a Raider playing there. And best of luck to all our former Raiders as they compete in their 2019 campaign. We're going to finish up the show with the Gulf South Conference. They're getting underway tomorrow night with 3 games tomorrow night. Tusculum at Delta State, Newberry at North Greenville. In West Florida, will travel up to Tennessee to play Carson Newman. On Saturday, West Georgia at Catawba, Limestone at West Alabama, Florida Tech at Savannah State, Valdosta State at Albany State, Mississippi College at Alcorn State, and the Shorter taking the long road, actually not too long, up to East Tennessee State. And I think that's going to be a long road back for the Hawks. I hate to say it. But Valdosta State, your defending Division II champion, and great program over there. Their former head coach, Kerwin Bell, a former Gator, is now down as assistant coach at South Florida with Charlie Strong. You also got West Georgia, Florida Tech, West Alabama, West Florida, North Greenville, Delta State, Mississippi College, and Shorter. In my opinion, one of the best Division II conferences in all the country.
So what is Fort Valley State's nickname?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I didn't even look it up. So we're going to look it up real quick. That's
on-air
nice
programming.
thing, on-air programming. So we're going to go. I got Miles's college. This shouldn't take too long.
Google is our friend.
Google is definitely our friend, but I actually got, of all our players playing, I have their home site on my phone, so this shouldn't take too long. Miles is the Golden Bears. We know that.
Right.
The colors are purple and gold. Fort Valley State is looking like
a Wildcat.
We're going to pull up their site here real quick. You know, at the HBCU, it's always 2 names. So it's going to be something Tigers or Golden Tigers or
Tony the Tiger. Wildcats?
I know. Continue to home. We're getting there, folks. We have nowhere to go. They are the Wildcats.
Huh.
So
the Wildcats.
The Wildcats. They'll probably throw Golden on there as well, but they are the Wildcats, and Miles College will be looking for revenge. One of their losses from last season, as they came into Miles College and knocked off the Golden Bears. Golden Bears got off to an 0-5 start, finished 5-6, won the conference title with a 50-23 win over Albany State in the championship game. And they're looking strong things big for Miles College coming up this season. We finished up another show, Bob, and anything that you want to talk about before we head off the air?
Fort Valley State, is that near the coast? Are you going to be affected? Are you going to have to bring your umbrella with you?
It is a 5-hour drive from here. It is near Warner Robins Air Force Base near Macon, in Houston County over in there. It's not Houston. I learned that a long time ago. I went to NCO prep school down at Robins as a young buck sergeant years ago, and I said Houston. They go, no, it's Houston.
You better learn now.
And Houston County, some great Warner Robins football, great program. Jake Fromm and his 2 twin brothers came out of that program. Both, I believe, one of his brothers will be at Clemson. I think signed with Clemson. I'm not sure where the other one went to, or Tennessee. I think it was Tennessee. But great program over there at Warner Robins. Very small town, beautiful campus. Be my first trip over there. That's one thing I love about following my son around playing, is I get to visit all these colleges or these towns that I wouldn't have gotten to see.
Exactly, and it's my hat's off. You set the bar high for us dads with our kids. Fortunately, I'm only 2 minutes away from Navarro High School to watch my girls swim. But
well, enjoy it while it lasts, because she's going to grow up.
The 11th grader said, "I can't wait to leave home," and I'm going, "Oh my God, I just held her as a baby," that kind of thing. So, for the Navarre Raiders,
let's look at this matchup coming up Friday night.
Jay Walls, kicker for Fort Walton.
I remember Jay Holmes.
Yeah, he could kick it from wherever.
Was he on that Danny Werfel team?
He was. Yeah,
he had a heck of a leg.
Yeah, he'd kick it from another zip code.
Not that they didn't really need him for kicking. They had Danny.
Just extra points.
Just extra points.
Jay Walls, this is a focus game. This is a focus game because you can't trip up. You want to keep your momentum going. You've got important games after this, and you're going to have to try to eliminate mistakes. I asked you after the first game, what would Jay Walls want to improve on? And I think you mentioned after the Gulf Breeze game, tackling,
which they did.
And I'm going to ask you the same question. From game 2 to game 3, what do you see? Is it penalties? Is it third down conversions?
Well, they ended up with 7 penalties last Friday night. Some big ones that took away some big plays like they did in week 1. 7 penalties for 65 yards last Friday night against Pace. I believe with this Milton team, the offensive line is continuing to get better, doing a great job. They rushed for 241 yards last week.
Right.
But I think one area that we need to improve and is our route running at our wide receiver positions. They have yet to go deep that often, with Tyler England being their main target. But I think they're going to have to distribute the balls away from Tyler England. Our teams are going to start focusing on shutting down Tyler.
I agree, and maybe going to the backs, dumping off to keep the defenses honest. We'll see. I think our defense is going to be solid. Milton's always tough. They're big. They're physical, and Navarre's going to have to be careful that you got to set your eyes on the prize, so to speak, and the prize is winning the district, getting as many points as you can, so to speak, up there, because you got you looked at your top 7 or 8 on your thing. We play Pine Forest, we play Niceville,
strong,
and we play Escambia. And
nope. Escambia not on the schedule this year.
Right. Okay. So
no room.
Yeah, thank goodness this year.
No.
But we got games ahead of us, important games. We got Lincoln, we got Leon. Say what you must. Something about driving down I-10. It's tough, and but I think the Raiders are up to the task, and I'm looking forward to Friday night under the lights. I don't think we'll be on the roof. Hope we won't.
No, we're actually in they have a visitor side press box at Milton, so we will have our own press box to ourselves.
And I believe it's going to be.
They usually feed us when we're up there too. Usually, shish kebabs are excellent.
I'll take your word for it. I'm game. I'm just going to make sure I bring.
Harry Lees, I believe, is in his second or third year up at Milton, and he came over from West Florida. Did a great job there at West Florida. Had some great talent go through there. He's finally getting the program to where he wants it to be. They have a young man on the defensive line. It's his big D1 presence there. He's either a sophomore or a junior. Heavily recruited defensive lineman. They have a lot. They always have those little scat backs, and then they'll throw a big fullback in there at you every once in a while. A great receiver there years ago, Isaiah Jones, that went to Florida State, didn't amount to much. In fact, had one of the biggest drops in the Milton-Navarre matchup in the playoffs a few years back. That could have changed the tone of that game, a 20-12 win for the Raiders as they moved on to Pine Forest the next week, where they upset Pine Forest, and then went on to face Lincoln, where they lost in triple overtime in 2010. I believe it was 2010. And
Milton had a great back. It went to Florida State, the name of Greg Allen.
Greg Allen. They've had some great names out of out of Milton's basketball as well. The Allens that played basketball up in Milton, and their dad Randy Allen that played actually in the NBA for years. Brandon Allen played at Florida State, I believe, a few years ago.
Sure did.
And great name up there in Milton. But you go up to that field, it's unlike any other field that you play at. The field is a little bit tilted, like a crown in the middle of the field. So it's tough for the linemen to move left and right up there at Milton.
And they use that field. My son played there in youth ball, for Navarre. It's used for community games as well there. So it may not be the best. Navarre, again, focus. Let's don't worry about the officials. Let's don't worry about the field. Prize is ahead of us. Win the game. Try to stay healthy. Nobody get hurt, because we got big games going on.
Lincoln and Pine Forest in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and Jay Walls is not new to this. This is not his first rodeo.
No, in fact, he's been very successful against Milton in his 7+ years at Navarre. This should be a great matchup at Santa Rosa. I always mess it just doesn't flow sometimes. Santa Rosa County foes facing off 25 miles to the north. Actually, it's kind of northwest, because the road, go up 87. It kind of does one of those like boomerang hooks.
Turn at the prison.
Yeah. You'll turn left on the Highway 90.
Right.
And then you'll go down, and then you'll turn right. You can go a couple of different ways. You can turn right at the light, or you can go down to the next light and turn right. Either way, the stadium will be down on your left, as I believe on 89, and a great place to go watch a game. They have a beautiful field. I mean, we'll be on the visitor side and the visitor side press box, very close to the field.
Good.
And I just want to let folks know there will be no video this Friday night, only audio. But Bob and I will do our best to bring you Raider football, and we'll describe it as only we know how. And it's the Raiders will go on the road Friday to try and keep their undefeated season going.
Absolutely. At the task, I think the Raiders are up to the task, and their offense and defense play well, and it certainly can be a W. But you have to play the game. On any given night, anybody can win. So, and I'm sure Coach Walls has said that to his team this week.
Well, hopefully you have enjoyed the show, the week 2 of Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Bob Grant with Irish Bill here at Culver's in Navarre. One of these weeks, if you want to come out on a Wednesday night, I know a lot of people go to church on Wednesday night. But if you don't go to church, come after. We're here from about 7 to whenever we decide we want to get off the air. Hopefully Culver's will not kick us out. I don't think so. Randy and Honey Smith, what a great job they've done here putting this business together here in Navarre. They also have one over in Destin, and they have a third one going up over in Fort Walton Beach off Racetrack Road. All three owned by Randy and Honey Smith.
Great people. We thank them so much for their hospitality.
And Randy has been battling cancer for about the last 4 or 5 years, throat and lung cancer. Continues to fight, and we always keep Randy in our prayers for a continued battle with him. Randy and I go back. We were both in the 20th SOS years ago at Herbert Field. Randy, a former helicopter pilot in the Army, then transferred over to the Air Force to finish up, and he stayed here in Navarre. Gave my son his first job here at Culver's when they opened.
Really?
And Brady worked here for almost 3 years, and they great people here and a great community, and they give back to the community. They provide their athletes of the week in the paper Navarre Press every week, and they select. We got some great young men here in this area, and it comes from great people that run their businesses here in Navarre.
Yeah, I saw. It may have been last week too. I think they were hosting the men's soccer team from Navarre, and the men were sometime last week, and the men were going out and doing the curb thing and getting tips. So there's certainly support the community. You can't ask anything better of a community, and of course, as important to both of us, they're a military family.
Most definitely. And we'd like to thank our other sponsors, Ursula Householder. Ursula's been with me, I think, now for about 7 years. No kids left in the community, but her and Mike still support all of the Navarre sports around the area. My wife with Express Professional Employment in Pensacola. She's been out there working on her second year. She's been on sponsor our program for the last 2 years. University Lending Group, Stacy Wright and Jennifer Gomes, great job here at University Lending Group in Navarre. The Navarre Raider Quarterback Club, what them and the Moms Club do for our Raiders. How many times they feed them, making sure a lot of their transportation is taken care of. They do such a great job at the high school. And I'm bringing back my sister-in-law, Judy Bruce, over in they live in Murphy, North Carolina. Her company is Cruise Planners, back for a second year. Without them, we couldn't bring you our show, and we couldn't bring you our broadcast on Friday night. So for Bob Grant and Irish Bill, this has been Irish Bill's Twist on Sports, and we are going to go out up on the roof.